I pick on Republican Senator Lindsey Graham a lot for good reason, because he is so indicative of one of the most horrible characteristics of a lot of modern or just politicians in general, which is that you prioritize politics over everything else. And that means that your principles and the things you purport to stand for can blow in the wind as easily as one of those balloon things outside of a store. And that is Lindsey Graham. And the fact that he went from calling out how horrible Trump was all the way to being a Trump bootlicker and booty kisser, all the way back to I'm out on Trump and all the way back in on Trump is just the worst example of this sort of dishonest behavior. And one of the things I think, as you're about to see in this interview, that happens when you're that dishonest is slowly, and I mean this metaphorically, okay, not literally, but the life gets sort of sucked out of you. Because the more that I see Lindsey Graham, the more in despair, disheveled, deteriorated he looks and he sounds. And he seems to be losing his own motivation to push this dishonesty, but he keeps doing it. And thus we have to call him out for it. But here is him on CNN talking about Trump's legal troubles. And his argument doesn't land exactly right.
All right. Obviously, Tiger Woods is not running for president, and the allegation is about, at least not yet.
No, I got campaign. It. Yeah, I think the whole thing's BS. Okay. Yeah, I think it's all BS. Yeah, political BS.
And just
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Yeah, it's BS. It's all BS. I don't know. Whatever you say, it's BS. Trump's great. Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to say.
Just to underscore something you said earlier, if he is convicted, you will still support him and vote for him.
I'm going to pause your viewing of this video super quickly to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button, and right next to it is the join button. So you can become a member to get the daily bonus show by clicking that join button. Back to the video.
Absolutely. I think what's going on with Donald Trump is weaponization of the law. He's being prosecuted in Manhattan, one of the deepest blue cities in the country. Georgia and Fulton County. Jack Smith is going after Trump, but Clinton and, Biden. Anyway, I think most people have written this off.
Oh, gosh. What? And Clinton and, I don't know. Point is, just make the point, okay? At least make it so I can debunk it. No, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden do not deserve prosecution just because Trump is being prosecuted. The different actions justify different responses from those who are tasked with enforcing the law, and that's what we're seeing. Here's a little bit more.
I think most people have written this off. They're going to focus on their problems, not a bunch of cases brought by liberals against Trump.
Senator, I want to talk to you about the Middle East because Secretary of State Blinken is on his way.
Yeah, Jack Smith is not a liberal. I can tell you that. I'm pretty sure he has a long record of being independent, but we'll show another clip from this in a second. But do you know what I'm talking about here? He seems to be losing the motivation to passionately argue on behalf of these dishonest talking points. And so there he's about to get into the Clinton and Biden whataboutism and then just goes, anyway, nobody cares. And I don't know if that's because he doesn't exactly understand how he's supposed to argue that or because he just doesn't care enough to try. But either way, it's a sad state of affairs. And we've seen this go from him being willing to go on Fox and actually tear up while he's asking people to donate to Trump to this. His character, the character that he's playing here, for political reasons, pretending like he believes in Trump, it's not as convincing these days, I have to say. And of course, the downplaying of the significance of Trump's legal cases is, first of all, to Republicans' detriment. We're seeing in the polls that people do really care about the potential of Trump being convicted, and that really would hurt Trump politically. So pretending like this doesn't matter to people is wrong. But also, really, Lindsey Graham? For a second there, Lindsey Graham acted like he understood the significance of what Trump tried to do in blocking the peaceful transfer of power. Obviously, Lindsey Graham has abandoned that stance for some time now. But Jack Smith is prosecuting Trump, and Fani Willis is prosecuting Trump for trying to disenfranchise millions of voters through schemes like the fake electors scheme. More involved in that scheme have recently been indicted. And this nationwide attempt to subvert the will of the people overthrow an election and keep Trump in power despite losing that election. That is something the American people do care about and will care about the outcome of these legal cases in relation to. And then on the other issues, actually, I'll have more to say on that after this clip, but him saying Americans are going to focus on what matters to them directly, I think that's true as well. And that's not going to favor Trump.
I think most Americans are not going to decide how to vote based on Trump's legal troubles, but the troubles they face, inflation, crime, a broken border. Your poll tells me everything I need to know about these legal problems of Trump. People are looking at their problems, not Trump's legal problems.
Now, he's absolutely correct that people will be voting on issues other than relating to Trump's threatening of our democracy. I think that should be the end-all be-all, and that should decide the election for people, but it's not going to, and other issues will play into people's decision making. And if we properly assess and then use that assessment to properly message to people about the facts of the situation, I think even those other issues he listed should not be benefiting Donald Trump politically. He said inflation, mentioning in a broader sense the economy and crime and the border. Now, inflation has been painful, no doubt about it, the last few years. Pretending like Biden caused it is silly, and we should understand the set of conditions that contributed to the inflation that we experienced real badly and still experiencing a little bit more than we'd like to. And that is, of course, the pandemic and the related conditions that Trump mismanaged, exacerbating the entire problem. Then Biden had to inherit this economic disaster, and all of that considered has done a really good job of handling it and getting inflation down, and also contextualizing that with the broader phenomenon across the world post-pandemic. But then crime, as we've talked about, has been plummeting under Joe Biden at a pretty rapid pace, and right now violent crime is lower than it was any time under Trump. So crime should not be an argument in favor of Trump. I can tell you that for certain. And then the border, I would go into my whole spiel that I go through a lot, which is talking about how, while yes, Republicans scream louder, it seems, about this topic, they aren't actually serious about addressing these problems with solutions, as is shown by, as something is going off on my computer, as is shown by their obstruction of this bipartisan border deal that's endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. But I don't have to get into that necessarily, because Lindsey Graham said it for me.
Everybody who comes on this floor and says our border's broken, we should do something about it, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, we didn't get there. President Trump opposed a Senate bill. We couldn't find a better way forward that would get 60 votes. I hate that. But now we have to deal with what's left for us to take care of in the world. So
just recently, he was willing, as you saw there, to admit Donald Trump is the one who killed the border bill. Now, he didn't mention why, which is that Trump explicitly didn't want Biden to get a win on the border, so placing politics above people. But there, he even is able to see that. And so, no, the Republican Party is not the party that's serious about addressing issues. Now, we have to be clear about what the issues are, because they also lie about what's going on. But the things that do exist and are problems, it's actually not the Republican Party serious about doing anything about it. At least these MAGA Republicans who explicitly killed a deal that could address some of these things because of political reasons, wanting to hurt Biden politically. And that is horrible. Now, I have a video, an ad that was put together by the Republican Voters Against Trump organization that is so perfect, sort of funny. And it's for people like Lindsey Graham that might be struggling with partisan derangement syndrome, putting their party over their country and their support for Trump.
If you're tired and feeling lonely.
Every day, prominent Republicans across the country tell us that Trump was responsible for the attack on the Capitol.
I do think he was responsible. I think the whole idea was to intimidate Congress.
President Trump is responsible for provoking the events of the day.
You said, it is clear that President Trump's rhetoric and actions contributed to the insurrection. Do you stand by that statement?
100%.
But sadly, these same Republicans say they will vote for him again.
You're voting for someone who you believe tried to subvert the peaceful transfer of power.
The answer to the question is yes.
Would you support him for president even though you believe he contributed to an insurrection?
Yeah, me and 51% of America.
I said that I would support President Trump if he were the nominee, and he obviously is going to be the nominee of our party.
These Republicans are suffering from partisan derangement syndrome.
You don't see this as the definition of putting party over country?
No.
At this point in the ad, I would tell you to call this number so you can help these deranged partisan Republicans. But sadly, they're too far gone.
And again, that's from the Republican voters against Trump. And yeah, they are too far gone, but that is exactly what's happening here. Partisan derangement syndrome. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.